Nation.
SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first. Then you act.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Spartan Nation Radio. I am your host, Hondo Carpenter, and it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to talk some Spartan football with legendary State of Michigan head football and basketball coach, Coach Chuck Grenier, the legend, the icon, the way of life. Many of you don't know this. I've told you the last couple weeks, infertility clinics, they would sell his genes that you could hang on the bedpost. This was long before there was in vitro fertilization. There have even been 4 documented cases of women who had their uteruses removed that got pregnant because of his genes. Just telling you, it is a way of life. He's a legend. He's an icon. Coach Chuck Grenier. Coach, how are you?
Flabbergasted. How's that?
Coach, you got to admit, each and every week I find a new way to introduce you, don't I?
Oh, yeah. New and interesting every week.
Coach, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Spartan football, but first, have you seen the pictures of the new uniforms? I absolutely hate them.
I am with you. I am a traditionalist. Green helmet, green jersey, Spartan green jersey and helmet, white pants. Let's go. Quit fooling around.
I have no problem with every alternate uniform they've shown up to now, even though I didn't really like the glowing helmets. I understood. I would like all white on the road, including the helmet, and all green at home. But this is just ridiculous. And I can tell you, this is something that would not have happened had Mark Hollis been athletic director, because he did not like the Block S. He did not want him to just put State, because so many other places do. He wanted to be Michigan State or Spartans. I don't like them.
No, I don't either. I think it's, if you want to be Oregon, go out there to Oregon. But this speech was that we've got a nice, great uniform, a traditionally nice, great uniform. And personally, I look at it as a distraction. Are you out there to walk down the catwalk or the runway and be a fashion aide or whatever you're supposed to be? Or you're there to play football. Just put the stuff on, go up, bang around a while.
Totally agree. So, Coach, let's talk about the spring game. Let's start with the defense, who I thought they won it, but I thought they played very well. Your thoughts on the Spartan D?
Well, the interesting thing is you watch the defense out there, and it's going to be another great year for defense. They are shorthanded to some extent, but the coaching on the defensive side is so good. Players are not out of position. They're hustling on the field. Plays over with, they jump up, they get back, they get their stuff ready for the next play. I thought the defense was outstanding. I thought the young people coming up, and I know during the course of that game they're looking to establish the second string because they pretty much know who the first string is. And I thought the second string was just as well coached, and actually, that second-string defense they had out there, the twos, if you want to call that, played extremely well. So, yeah, the defense is sound at this point.
Almost every single two on that Michigan State defense could start on another Big Ten team.
I believe it. They are a well-coached team. They are deep in a lot of positions. I was impressed. I know they were looking for the fourth defensive tackle to go in to play across from to play next to Naquan, and I think they got the fourth. I think they got a fifth and maybe a sixth in there too. So, yeah, they are a really good unit.
I agree.
First and seconds.
Now, privately, you and I have been talking, and I've told you about Anthony Williams, the running back. He came out, had 9 rushes for 24 yards. Now, I mean, he looked good, but let's be honest, 9 rushes at 24 yards is not a ton of yardage, but he did look good. Talk about Anthony Williams.
Yeah, the thing I liked about him is he showed a little bit of running back. I really like Jefferson. I really like Hayward. I think they're short yardage running backs. I think they're between the tackles running backs. They don't have great vision. They will run into blocks that are being established. They don't have the jump cuts and that, so they just bulls is what I like to call them on that one. Although I thought Hayward had a little bit more speed, even though he looked a little heavier this year. But and those other running backs, Collins and Williams, they have the ability to jump cut out of a blocking situation, get another yard or two, or maybe even break it and go. I really like the shake and bake that they have out there. It good first steps, good acceleration. I'm really pumped up to see what these guys are going to do once they get established with the offense and get more reps.
Coach, again, I want to stay on the offensive side of the ball because that's really where the problems are with this program. Offensive line, we've heard all spring. Has Jim Bowman made him. It's amazing what good coaching makes, and I think you could even see it on Saturday. You could see the impact of Jim Bowman.
I think so too. There was a lot of good things I saw out there. People looked to be a little bit more aggressive than they were in the past. They were able to sustain their blocks longer than they had in the past. Like last year. And they just seem to be doing a much better job. Holes were there, creases were there, and again, that team, that offensive line that is getting better under Jim Bowman, is going against a number one group, a number two group that is really a top flight defensive line. So they looked a lot better than they did last year, for sure.
I agree. Let's flip over to quarterback, where clearly Brian Lewerke has the rubber band back in his arm. He looked decent. Actually, that's not even fair. I think he looked good. 14 of 20, 1 interception, 2 touchdown passes for 181 yards. Your thoughts on Brian Lewerke?
Not only did the velocity increase, the accuracy increase, he was throwing the ball extremely well in some bad conditions, pretty windy out there at that time. Most thing I was impressed with, and I think the other quarterback should really play off this one too, his footwork. If you go back and you watch the film again, the mechanics and his footwork have improved tremendously. And he throws the ball with no effort at this time. And if those mechanics are continuing on to improve throughout the course of the summer and get us into the fall camp, he is playing. You know, if you watch that game again, he had a number of balls that were spot on that were dropped or knocked free. The receivers allowed the defense to block them and knock them out of their hands. And during the course of that game, there was probably another 4, maybe 5 passes in the end zone that should have been caught for touchdowns. So he really improved. Rocky had the same thing happen to him too, but he really improved. The zip was there. The accuracy was there. I thought that was probably the biggest thing that came out of that scrimmage.
Rocky was 9 of 22 with 1 interception, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. Your thoughts on Rocky?
Rocky has come a long way. I thought that he is best when he's moving, going back and dropping back into the pocket or catching it and the long snap. I think he's still got to work on his footwork. You know, he's 6'3", 230 pounds, and when you watch him when he throws the ball, why is a guy that is that big and that strong throwing the ball with so much effort? And he just needs to work on his footwork a little bit more. It's too spread out. He had some really good passes, and again, just like Lewerke, he had some passes that were dropped. He had a couple that were in the end zone that should have been touchdowns. Felton Davis, for sure, would have made those catches. And I think he's improving quite a bit, but during the course of that green-white game, that spring game, I thought Lewerke was head and shoulders above the other 2 quarterbacks.
And then Theo Day, a young freshman, he's clearly not there in the Lewerke-Lombardi world, but you can see what's coming in the future with that young man.
I agree totally. I think it's a close race when you talk about just pure throwing the ball. It's a close race between him and Rocky for number 2 at this point. 6'5", 220 pounds, can see over the defense. He made one really grievous error he wasn't able to catch or throw the ball to Davis in the end zone. They threw behind him on clearly an open, easy touchdown. But he did a nice job as well. He throws the ball pretty effortlessly also.
I'm going to tell you this. Talking to people inside the program, though, there isn't any closeness between the two of them. Remember, Rocky's strengths come off his threatening ability to run, and it forces defense. So I think that the two of them looked comparable. If you didn't know all the nuances on Saturday, but in actual game live situations, it's not close at all with those two. Let's turn over to receivers. Yeah. Darrell Stewart, boy, he was phenomenal.
He stood out. He was head and shoulders above that. I know they were trying to get other receivers involved in Hayes and a number of the other receivers, get them involved into the game and see what they could do in a game-type situation. But Darrell Stewart really did stand out. There were a few passes to White. There were a few passes to Naylor. But I think they were actually trying to get other people involved in the football game, get Steph involved there, and try not to maybe throw to those guys as much as the possibility of an injury bug again. But Darrell Stewart did look really good. He looked aggressive as a wide receiver, and I like to see that.
Totally agree. He is Coach Chuck Grenier. So, Coach, let's do this. Next week we'll have you back. I want to go through all of it. We'll do more football next week. He's the great Coach Chuck Grenier.